Right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for what I know is going to be a very informative hour. I want to thank our series sponsor, the Job Gym. They've been a great partner to us over the years for all of our employment and training needs. They're always our go-to. Today, we're going to learn more about the Canada-Ontario Job Grant, which provides opportunities for employers to invest in their workforce with some funding from both the federal and Ontario government. The format for our session will be as follows. Our presenter will tell us about the program. You can submit your questions throughout their presentation through either the chat or the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We'll address all of the questions at the end of the presentation. The presentation will be about 30 minutes long. So at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce today's presenter. Amanda Shannon is an employer specialist with the John Howard Society of Niagara Job Gym. Amanda is a great resource. We've worked with her many, many times, and I'm very pleased to be able to turn it over to her at this time. Amanda, welcome, and take it away.
Thank you so much, Loris. I appreciate that. Give me one moment here to share my slides. So welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. I'm hoping that I'll be able to shed some light on some government funding that may benefit your business. So we are going to be chatting about the Canada-Ontario Job Grant Program. May also be called COGI or COJ, whatever suits you best. Let me just see. So Shivani Subramanian is our case coordinator. She actually is our main point of contact for our COJ program. Unfortunately, something came up quickly for her today, so she's not able to join us. But if you're ever in contact with our organization regarding this program, Shivani will be your main point of contact, and I certainly back her up wherever help is needed. So you're welcome to reach out to me as well. So a brief overview of what the COJ program is. It provides direct financial support to individual employers who want to purchase training for their workforce. So it is third-party training, so you're sending them to an outside trainer. It's not internal. It's delivered through cost-sharing agreements between the employers and the government. So Employment Ontario service providers such as Job Gym is the third party that helps to deliver that. So we can assess applications for up to 25 employees or participants. There are multiple Employment Ontario service providers in Niagara. I don't know if we have anybody on this call from one of those groups, but if we do, feel free to throw your name in the chat in case there's any employers here that would like to connect with you as well. So we like to start these sessions off with an example of how you can make this program work for you. So we created this little case scenario to show how maybe you can incorporate it. Acme Industrial manufactures widgets at their Fort Erie facility. They have 86 employees on payroll. The company has a fleet of 20 drivers that deliver their customer orders throughout Ontario. Another 25 team members are employed in entry-level unskilled labor roles. Acme's HR manager is developing their strategic plan alongside senior management. Discussions and forecasting staffing needs for the next year and next 5 years have led the team to the realization that 60% of their drivers will enter retirement age in the next 2 to 10 years. I think that this is a scenario that a lot of businesses are kind of encountering as we move through a higher retirement rate here in Canada. So now HR is tasked with proactively addressing this anticipated labor gap. And how can the Canada-Ontario Job Grant support this company? So Learn to Drive Trucking Academy. They have an AZ driving course with intake every 6 weeks, and it is at a cost of $10,000 per trainee. Acme commits to upskilling 5 of their existing laborers every 9 months. So their investment up front, 5 employees times 10,000, so that's 50,000 total. The ministry contribution through the COJ program would be 5.6 for this company, as they have under 100 employees on payroll. So the total that they could access through the grant is $41,666.67. The employer would be responsible for 1/6, which would be the outstanding $8,333.33. The way that the reimbursement schedule works is upon approval and proof of payment, we would reimburse 70% of the 5/6 the business is entitled to. So you get 29,166.67 back as soon as we see that your trainer has been paid. And then once your employees complete the training, you get the outstanding 30% at that point. So the outcome from this, Acme Industrial is less dependent on the labor market trends, so shortage of drivers, and they've developed their own internal talent pipeline. There's significant cost savings for employee training investments by being able to access the funding that's available through the CODGE program. There's potential to negotiate lower prices with the trainer due to regular intake, so that could be an option as well. And then career pathing options lead to lower turnover rate for entry-level laborers. It improves community reputation because we all know everybody talks to each other. So this is a great way of becoming one of the employers of choice in your own community. And it also increases morale amongst your staff. There's less pressure for existing drivers to work extra hours. And then laborers can also access promotions and wage increases. So that makes them very happy as well. So when we're looking at the actual funding information and how much you can receive, so if you have less than 100 employees on your payroll, you can get up to 5/6 of the direct training costs back. For employers that have 100 or more people on their payroll, they get 50% back. So there is a little bit of a difference there. You can apply for up to $10,000 per trainee. So again, that goes up to 25 participants. So you potentially could submit a fairly large grant application. Included in the 10,000, you can also include a request for up to $500 for training materials. There's also travel cost support of up to $500 if that's something that's required as well. So when looking at the program, there's a couple of things that we have to assess. There's employer eligibility, training eligibility, and individuals or the participant eligibility. So we're just going to run through that fairly quickly here. So as an employer, you have to be legally registered in Ontario to operate as a business. The employers are the ones who select which employees they would like to take the training. The training should be delivered in Ontario and is related to a job that's also located in Ontario. This is obviously an Ontario government funded program, so they want to see the growth and the benefit stay here. There is a little bit of flexibility as far as the training with the easy access to online training. There's some flexibility that if there isn't a trainer in Ontario that is able to deliver the program content that you're looking for, some employers have used trainers virtually out of province or even out of country. You have to be compliant with all employment-related legislation, so that includes OHSA, ESA, human rights, all of that fun stuff. And you do have to maintain appropriate WSIB. There is a requirement as well for third-party liability insurance proof. So some of the things that would not qualify as far as employers under this program, any level of government or agency would not qualify. We can't double dip, unfortunately. So if you're already getting government funds for the same skills training or the same individual, likelihood is you couldn't access both programs at the same time. You can't use the training to somehow displace staff or replace staff who are on layoff. This next one is probably the biggest thing that we see happen. You can apply for the funding after the training has already begun. So you definitely want to connect with an Employment Ontario service provider well in advance of the start date of your training to make sure that we can get it all worked out. And the other thing is that this is a completely employer-driven program. So the individuals that are taking the training, your employees, cannot pay for any part of the training whatsoever. So when we're looking at the participants, so your employees that you're going to be putting into the program, there are a couple requirements for them as well. They have to be a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or protected person. They have to be employed by you. So there is some wiggle room around that. They either have to currently be on your payroll, or you can actually send someone through the training that hasn't started with you, as long as there is a letter of employment with the intent that once the training is completed, they will be added to your payroll. An individual can't be participating in full-time training, education, or government training that offers funding for something similar. So this looks more at some of the other Employment Ontario programs. If somebody's registered in Better Jobs Ontario or they're registered in employment service, it would just be a matter of getting their service plans in those programs closed out before they can start this one. And then majority shareholders or anyone with controlling interest in the business owners, unfortunately, are also not eligible to participate under the grant program. So when we're looking at the training, as far as eligibility, the ministry is looking to see that the training is directly related to the skills that the business has identified a need in. Again, training occurring in Ontario or delivered online. It does have to be training that can be completed within 1 year. So that's something that's important as well. That's something that's definitely enforced. Anything that an employer is legally required to provide their staff training in is not eligible under the grant. Similar to executive training courses, preparatory training classes, anything regarding business consulting services or attending conferences would not qualify. Memberships for different associations and all of that as well do not qualify. They really want to see how the training program is benefiting the individual to further develop their skills so that in turn they can support the business with their objectives moving forward. And then as far as training providers, there's a number of options that businesses have to access. Colleges, universities, private trainers, private schools, school boards, union-based training. Product vendors are an option as well, but there is some limitation to that. So if you purchased a product or a software or service from a vendor, they would not be eligible to be trainers if they're training on how to use their product or their service. So for instance, if you purchased a point of sale system, they couldn't come in to train your staff on how to use that, but maybe they could come in to do customer service or sales training. So that's an option. And then the application instructions. So there is an online application that employers do need to complete. Depending on the size of your application, how many people you're registering. This takes between 30 minutes to about an hour. I do recommend that you connect with an Employment Ontario service provider prior to doing your application, because we'll walk you through what the program is, what we'll be looking for in the application, give you tips on how to put together a really strong application to increase your chances of approval. Again, it's super important that your application is submitted before the training starts, and we do ask for a minimum of 12 business days for processing. I think it's important to note as well that just submitting the application does not guarantee you funding. So I would never want anyone to be shocked if they get a notification that it wasn't approved, but you've already committed to this training. So just really encourage you to reach out and chat with a service provider so that we can help walk you through those steps. So on the back end, just to kind of help with what it looks like on our end. The ministry does have the applications set up into assessment of one of three tiers. There is a focus on approving tier ones because it is better for Ontario business. It's beneficial for the business. It's beneficial for the individual taking it, which we'll see on the next slide why. And it also builds a stronger workforce. Tier twos could be approved. This could be a matter of maybe an employer has applied for training, got the grant, and then have a secondary training that they want to take, and it hasn't passed that 6-month mark. So that's one of the things that we look at. So something to keep in mind if you're planning out your training needs for the next year. Which training programs does the business most need? What would most benefit you? What's the most cost effective? You want to select the training that would be the most advantageous to your business and do that application first. Because like if you apply again within 6 months, you're automatically bumped down to a tier 2. And then tier 3s really don't get approved unless, our fiscal year runs April to March. So if we've allocated money to a business and they don't use it all, sometimes we have a little bit of money flow back to us in March. If we have no other tier 1s or tier 2s pending, we can look at using some of that leftover funding for tier 3, but honestly, it doesn't happen very often across the region. So when we're looking at an application, these are some of the things that we're going to be looking for in your online application. Impact of training is the biggest thing. So how is this training not only going to benefit the business, but also benefit the individual that's taking your training? So is it taking somebody that was unemployed and moving to full-time? That fits that scenario where you're going to bring somebody into the training and then with an employment offer letter, provided that they pass the training, they start employment with you. If you're in a position where maybe you have potential layoffs coming down the pipe, but you want to retrain those staff into different roles, so maybe they can fill different needs for the business and avoid that layoff. That's an excellent criteria that we look for. If there's any kind of increase in hours, so someone's typically, getting 18 hours a week and you want to bump them up to 35 with this new training because they're able to expand the skills and whatever functions they do for the business, that's great. Also, especially in Niagara, we have a lot of seasonal employment. If it's something that can move that person from a seasonal employee to a year-round employee, increase in wage is probably the one we see come through the most. So that can't be directly tied to a scheduled wage increase, like a cost of living increase, anything like that. It's got to be outside of that. If the training will help them either move into a lateral position or access a promotion, that is something that definitely will help your application. And then any industry recognized certifications. So a common one in there, we often have employers submit for DZ, gas fitter, those types of certificates that they can carry with them elsewhere. And then, oops, that moved on me there. Oh no, sorry about that. Oh no. Let me just get back to my screen here. I'm so sorry for this. Dolores is going to laugh at me because I told her I was panicking that this was going to live on the internet forever. So, of course.
It's all good. You're doing a great job.
Sorry. I don't know why it's not letting me. Thought this would be faster, but it's not. Okay. The other thing that we look at is, like I mentioned, the relevance of the training for the participants. So is this going to help them be a better employee in your organization? Is this going to further develop their skills? Obviously, as this is a provincially funded program, they want to see Ontario's workforce being developed so that it can stay current with the labor market needs in our economy. And then the total cost of training. So making sure that you're under that $10,000 benchmark. There is some diligence on our end as well as the applicant that you are researching different training options to make sure that not only is it the training that best suits your business needs, but is also fiscally responsible. It is a government funded program, so we want to make sure that we're using those dollars appropriately. All right, so next steps. As I mentioned, I would recommend meeting with an Employment Ontario service provider in advance. I know our organization will actually meet with an employer to help them put the application together and submit it online if anybody needs that extra level of support. I believe some of the other service providers do that as well. We'll get a notification as soon as the application is submitted. When you submit your application, at the very end, it does allow you to choose which service provider you would like it to be sent to, or you can put in your location. It'll give you options of which ones are closest to you. So that's how we get the notification. The Employment Ontario office will review the application. They'll reach out to you to set up a meeting to kind of review and make sure everything on there is accurate. Sometimes there's typos or questions are misunderstood. So we just want to make sure we have all valid, updated information. At that point, we'll ask you for any supporting documents. So that could be things like your third-party liability insurance, a quote of the training proposal. If you're using a private trainer, there is an attestation form to confirm that they're eligible under the definition that the province has laid out. we'll go through, once we receive all of that, we'll do everything on our end to review and approve the application. Once it's approved, you'll get notification. We'll send you the participant registration forms so that you can get all your staff registered under the program. That does need to be done before the training starts. So that's why we asked for the 12 days. And then the employer is responsible to pay the full amount of training before they can be reimbursed anything. Some of the private trainers do have payment plans worked out, and that's fine. At least with our organization, we will work with you on that. So as you submit payments, we would reimburse 70% up to 5/6 of your monthly, whatever payment schedule it is that you have worked out. And then, as I mentioned, once the training has been completed, we'll send you a quick form to confirm how the training went, if everybody completed it, all of those good things. And then we issue the final 30% that you're entitled to. So that was all Shivani's part. My role, I just want to put in a quick blurb here because I work as the employer specialist here in the organization. So there's a number of other things that you can access through us as well. We do have job seekers that come in to register with us. So we do have a candidate pool of a few thousand candidates at any given moment. So when you send opportunities through to us, we do screen through to see if we have anybody that might be a good fit and make those referrals. We have employment readiness and upskilling support. So there's lots of different examples of that. We actually, at the end of this month, are running a healthcare industry kickstart program. So they're in class with us for 2 weeks to get some of the basic certifications to work in some of those entry-level roles in healthcare. And then also have employers connect with the group for that mentorship component, as well as networking opportunity. We do offer job posting support as well as marketing. So when you have an opportunity, you can forward it along to us. We have jobgym.com. So that is a free job board that any employer can access in Ontario, and it's visible to the general public. So anyone can apply to positions that are located on there. They don't have to be a registered client of JobGym to do that. As well, any postings that we put up for employers on that website also get pushed out through all of our social media platforms to drive extra visibility to them. We also do a lot of recruitment events. So there's a lot of different styles of them. This is actually the part of my job that I love the most. We do virtual events, we do in-person events, information sessions so that people can learn about your business. You can kind of educate people about who you are, what it is that you're looking for, what the skills are, what your application process is, all of those good things. And then we also do individualized or multi-employer job fairs that can both be in person or online. And then community resources and connections. So if you have an opportunity and we don't have anybody internal, there's about 70 other people across the region that are similar to myself that I can share that opportunity with. And hopefully another organization within that network has a candidate that might be the right fit for you. So we definitely can help with that as well. So that concludes the presentation. I've included Shivani's contact information on here in case you'd like to book a meeting with her. One thing I wanted to mention is this program does run April to March is our fiscal year. Typically by this time, most Employment Ontario service providers in our area at least are running low on funding. We are all networked, so if you submitted an application and we don't have the funding for it, we would send it around to the group to see if someone else could support it. But typically most agencies do run pretty low or completely out by this time of year. So April 1st, we do anticipate that this program will open up again. We haven't received anything that indicates that it won't be refunded. I would suggest connecting with Shivani anytime between now and early March so you can start developing your application, thinking about when training would best fit with your business model. You know, it's a lot of employers like to run training during their downtime as opposed to during their peak, just so that their employees can focus on the learning. You can submit an application April 1st, but not have the training start until later in the year. That just makes sure that the money is earmarked for you. So that's an option as well. So just thought I'd mention that in terms of planning to make sure that you can utilize this the best. That is everything I had for you today. I think that there are some questions here.
Yeah, there's some great questions. So let's get to it. So the first question, actually there's two, same question. Are federally regulated employers eligible?
Yes. Yes. So the depending on what it is, it's more federal government programs or not. Um, we look at those individually, but I think for the most part, yes.
Okay. Next question. If a company is approved for the Canada Summer Job Grant, does that mean that they will be approved for this program?
No, these are two separate programs. Canada Summer Job is facilitated strictly at the federal government level. They're two different applications.
Sense. Is there a deadline for the funding, or is it first come, first serve until the funds run out?
It is first come, first serve until the funds run out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If you think you might need some training over the next year, I would start figuring out now which trainers you want to use, what time frame you're looking at, when you want it to happen in your staff, and then April 1st, I would put your application in to earmark that money for you.
Okay. Does the training have to be done all together? For instance, can it be done for 8 weeks, half a day per week? And can the training be management or leadership skills training? Great question.
Yeah, so there's lots of flexibility in how the program's delivered. There are quite a few applications where they take the full year. So it might be that they have a trainer come in for half a day every 2 weeks. You do have to have a set schedule that you try to stick to. But it doesn't have to be like a block of training. You can work it in with your regular work schedule. And then the second part, we do have actually quite a few businesses that apply for leadership training, customer service training. So a lot of those soft skills.
Okay, great. Next question. We have several employees who are in Canada on educational visas, but they are not citizens. Do they qualify for the training?
So those ones we look at individually. We need to see their work permits to make sure that there's no restrictions. Um, in those situations, one of the things that we have to look at is the training dates and does their school or work visa allow them in the country to the end of that date? Is there a plan to keep them afterwards? If their application is approved to do so. So that's a gray area. I can tell you we've had in the last couple of applications, quite a few approved that were on student visas.
Okay. Next question. Would it be better to wait until April to have better chances? Have an employee hoping to start online schooling late February?
Well, I can tell you right now, we have allocated all of our funding that we have available until March 31st.
Okay.
Depending on how much your training is, we can reach out to the larger service provider network to see if anybody else has any funding left. I don't believe like there might be a few $1,000s floating around in the region right now, but it's not a lot. So the February option may not be an option because of lack of funding. April, there'll be a fresh pot of money. So
Right, because you did say that you can't start the program until you've been approved. You won't qualify for the funding. So,
right.
Okay.
So if you're looking at February next year, you can apply in April of this year.
Okay, but there's lots of time to put the plan together for the April 1st pot of funding.
Yes.
Yeah, and you would recommend that folks contact you guys and you guys can help them through that process.
Yes.
So
Yep.
what does the application look like? Like how sometimes we look at these applications and after you spend about 20 minutes going through them, you realize, oh my gosh, this is just too much, not worth the effort. Is it a very what is the application like? Like how difficult, I guess? How
Yeah.
much information?
It's not a difficult application. It can be long if you're registering multiple people that are in different roles.
Sure.
Because of that part where we have to assess what the impact of training is, you do every participant that you are registering, you have to have their job title, what their current wage is, and then also fill in what their anticipated job title and anticipated wage will be upon completion of the training. So we've had some people that registered, 20 participants. That means, and they were all different roles. So then they had to put in 20 different entries into that. Other than that, it's basically like your tombstone information for your business. You do have to have all the details about your training. So you have to have final details as far as, the start and end dates, the cost, who your trainer is, because you need all of their contact information. So like I said, it's not complicated. Some employers have completed it in 20 minutes. Some of the ones that have to register like more people, it does take a little bit more time. But I've never seen anyone take more than an hour. And like I said, most service providers, I know we do, I'm confident that our community partners as well will help with this process if you need it. I know I've gone to meet with employers and sat with them when they were filling out the application at their office. I've also had employers call and they just kept me on the phone and I just did other work in case they had questions and they would just pop in with a question. So that's an option too. There's a lot of flexibility with it. And I know we try to take as much of the administrative burden off the business as possible to make it an easier process to access. But as far as government programs go, I don't think this is the most complicated one you'll come across.
And it's always amazing customer service. That's why we always call you first, Amanda. Yeah, anything like that to do. So I wonder then, so if someone is applying or they reach out to you, they want to apply, they have an idea in their mind, they're not sure who could provide the training. Is that something that you can help them with? Like, do you have a list of potential trainers, or you're able to kind of guide them in that direction?
Yeah, for sure. We tend to see trends with types of training that's being accessed. So we can inform people on what other businesses are using. Um, oh, I just forgot the name of the organization. There is actually an organization in St. Contact North is one of our community partners, and they're fantastic to work with. So you can set up an appointment with one of their staff. They're dialed into all of the training in Ontario. So they can, if you say to them, I want training in A, B, and C, they will help pull together a list of organizations that provide that training. So between the service provider and Contact North, you probably will get more than enough options to choose from.
Okay.
Can also reach out if you're a part affiliated with any professional business associations. That's a good resource to use as well because they're typically looped in. So
Mm-hmm. We have another question. Does it have to be a third-party organization that provides the training, or is the deliverance of training provided by a member of our own organization qualify?
unfortunately, it does have to be a third party trainer. They have to have their own CRA number and be a registered organization in Ontario as well.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Let's see. Don't see any other questions from our attendees. Just a quick question. We're talking about some of the other services that you guys provide, and we were having a little conversation before we started the webinar. Just some observations. Are you seeing a shift between the ratio of job seekers as opposed to the number of jobs that are available? I know in 2022 and 2023, many of us struggled trying to find skilled folks for job openings. How is that going? Has it changed at all, or are we in for more of the same in 2024?
I think we're going to see a shift this fiscal or this year. We are definitely seeing an uptick in the number of job seekers registering with their services. We've already hosted a couple of recruitment events this month that were quite well attended. Those poor interviewers didn't even get a break. Um, and the comments that we received from those employers as well is the candidates that were attending. Not only was there a good quantity, but they also really like the quality of candidates coming through. So I do think that we are going to see a little bit more balance brought back to that. Um, yeah, so I think things will be different this year.
Well, that's probably music to, well, it's music to my ears, but I'm sure it's music to many of our members' ears. It's been a struggle the last few years, so it's nice to hear that maybe that's going to change a bit. All right, I'll
Absolutely.
take a final look to see if there's any other questions from our attendees, and there is. Will the video be available? I'd like to share. Oh, okay. Yes. So this webinar has been recorded, and we will share it with the membership. It'll be available on our website, but we will send it out to everybody in the Feature Friday this Friday, so you'll be able to share it with anybody within your organization or other folks that you think might have an interest. And I just saw someone raise their hand. You'll have to put the question in the Q&A or the chat, and we'll give you a minute to do that. Yeah, I don't want to ignore the question, but you have to put it in the Q&A or the chat for us to access it. So we'll give you a few seconds to do that.
I can share a little bit about what we're seeing some of the employers use this program for in case it triggers any ideas for anyone.
Great idea.
Early in the presentation, I talked about how you could potentially use this program to avoid layoffs. We are seeing a lot of employers use this for succession planning. So recognizing, and I think this was a trend that we saw over the pandemic as well, that middle management component, people being promoted so quickly because we were short staffed for so many years there, that they weren't able to fully develop those leadership skills, um, to be thrive in those middle to higher management roles. So a lot of businesses were accessing this program to help build in the succession planning to help their staff be successful in taking on that challenge. So I think this could be a really great tool in using it for that purpose as well.
That makes a lot of sense. That's great. I don't see the question. Let me just take one more look. No. Okay.
You're welcome. My contact information's on the screen here, so you're welcome to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to, um, respond to any emails, or we can set up calls or anything like that as well.
That's fantastic. We really appreciate it, Amanda. It was a great presentation. I knew it would be a very there we go. All right, no, that's just a thank you. And thank you for thanking us. Just want to let folks know to make sure that you check out next month's Lunch and Learn presentation. It's scheduled for February 20th. So you'll get all of the details on that in your What's Up Wednesday. So look for the details and the registration link. Also mark March 8th in your calendars. We'll be hosting our International Women's Day trade show and luncheon that day. This is going to be a sold out event. So if you are interested in participating, you need to register early. And also next month, February, we're almost there. We bring back our morning coffee clubs. Check out our website or your What's Up Wednesday for the invitation in your community. We hope to see you there. Thank you so much for joining us, and have yourselves a wonderful day. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.